institutions, they follow a different system. In fact, British still do not follow this system in some places. They still have this notion of affiliated colleges, and that is where the British education system is also going to dog. But good educational system respects the autonomy of a teacher, and the best educational system will respect the autonomy of a learner. The internet era is providing that autonomy to a learner. The learner can now choose. That's why I said, as long as the university degrees are considered important, people give value to universities and colleges and so on. But the best bet to fix the problem is introduce autonomy for a teacher. Of course, teachers will fumble. They may not do a proper job initially or something, but eventually they will do. IIT Bombay has been doing it for 50 years, and the teachers are same human beings as any other teacher. Why? Because you give responsibility, people will live up to the responsibility. You suspect that they will do some hanky-panky, they will actually do some hanky. This is my feeling. I don't see any other simple way of fixing the system. Because once you do that, the students will immediately become 200 times more responsive to the teacher. Because they know that what teacher is teaching, I must attain, I must learn. They know that the question paper is going to be set by this teacher. They know my marks are going to be given by this teacher. Once that understanding comes, they will forget all coaching classes. But please remember, this puts an enormous responsibility on the teacher. Teacher will now have to work 10 times harder. But it's possible to do that. Okay. So that is my answer. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Ask him to write that question on a chat. Then we can.
Bhagwan College, please ask your question now.
It is good that some students are connected on this. Professor Vevukar wanted all 400 colleges to be connected. I think we should do that. Next time I would like to give this lecture sitting in IIT Bombay, said I save 2 hours on commute.
No, I think let him write on the chat.
Yeah, let him write on the chat. Is he doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions till the time we can take?
Please identify yourself so that others will also know you and then ask.
Sir, myself Vaibhav Khose from Department of Chemistry, University of Mumbai, as a research scholar. I read one word, out of box thinking. What actually mean the out of box thinking?
Out of box thinking is innovative thinking, thinking differently. I tell you one example that I used to give. I learnt it from a management expert. So one day in a classroom, I took a broom. You know broom? Jhadu. Lamba balm pe jhadu hota hai na. I took it in the class. And I said, write 10 different uses of this jhadu. So this jhadu was not it was a fine grained kersuni kind of thing. And people wrote, it was difficult to write 10 things. Now there were 50 students in the class. So I said, I should ideally have 500 uses of this broom. And I started writing unique things. I could not go beyond 7 or 8 because people could not write 10. Then I said, now omitting these 7, write 100 uses of the broom. Then people really started thinking. So you should see some amazing thoughts. You can break the bamboo and use it as a fuel. Okay. You can cut that broom and hammer it on your door to say that a server lives here who can broom your floor. Somebody says you can cut the hair end of the broom and make mustaches. All kinds of things. Now, very crazy things will happen when you think like that. But when you examine 100 crazy ideas, 2 might actually be workable. But you don't know which 2, so you have to think of all 100. Innovative thinking is tracing your mind to see things around whatever. Different. And you keep spotting innovations that others do. You can learn innovation from others as well. There is no formula. Okay, and people think that innovative people are, innovative thinkers are born, just like they say leaders are born. That is not 100% true. Each one of us can figure out a way. You just look at your own life. In your life, there would have been problems, situations, where you did something differently and solved that problem. Unfortunately, you have forgotten those instances. If you remember them, you will know. Out-of-box thinking means thinking differently. That's all.
Sir, the question is from Bhagwan College of Pharmacy.
Okay.
He is asking about how to concentrate more on studies.
How to concentrate?
How to concentrate more
on
any subject.
On studies. Yes. Okay. How to concentrate more? This has been my problem. Like children, I have a very short span of attention. My wife, in fact, laughs at me saying, you behave like a child. I actually tell her I'm very happy because that is what I advocate that people should do. But I have these problems. What I do is, I take up multiple things. And I do something for 15-20 minutes. When I get bored, I will open my email and start doing something else orthogonal. So I have developed a very fast switching capability. I also play computer games while. I remember once an alumnus of mine actually quoted this incident that I remember Phatak at 2 o'clock in the night, some printer suddenly started printing and I realized Phatak had given that print command. Phatak walked into the computer center and I said, what are you printing? And Phatak said, forget that, tell me how to go to level 13 in prints from level 12. And he says, why? I said, no, till the printout was coming, I was trying it and my prints died. So afterwards when I went, next day morning, again at 8:30 lecture, I was passing by, I was sitting in a class, and I happily told him I solved the problem. So you see, you do different things. Concentrating on study is, you don't talk of concentrating for hours together or days together. That is humanly difficult. There are a few individuals who can do that. But the point is, you should be able to bring your brain back from wherever it is diverted. And the best bet is, if you can't concentrate continuously, spend some time. Take 2 minutes off. The problem is, suppose you take 2 minutes off to listen to, let us say, Muhammad Rafi's nice song on a TV. Then you will be tempted to listen to the subsequent Kishore Kumar song as well, and you will not come back to it. So when you take a break, take a physical. In our classes, we have a 5-minute break after every 1 hour. So something like that. I have not figured out a universal formula how to concentrate. But I think it's a discipline of mind. And the discipline of mind has to come from within. It's very difficult. But it can come. If you try, it can come.
Yes.
I am Aditya from Administrative Career, Academy for Administrative Career. My question is that being a student of particular field, we are, as you said, we are notion towards going on studying on that field. But we all have various interests and various passions in other fields. So can we, what hampers us in studying these things in interdisciplinary approach? And what can we do to increase such studies which goes on in various fields and take the best out of everything and to give it to all the people so that everyone can know that what is better in arts, what is better in science.
Yes.
So that it, as you said, we need to have some knowledge of each domain.
Yes.
So we can have some sort of all the best things from everything and give it to all.
Yes. I have suggested, Aditya, in my thing, I believe that, I remember from my higher secondary days in Madhya Pradesh, all of us who were studying whether commerce or arts or science, we had 2 courses, common courses for all. One was called general science and one was called social studies. Now, I used to ask my teacher that why general science is being taught because we are studying physics, chemistry. He said it is primarily meant for others. But there are general science concepts which involve biology and all which you will otherwise not learn because you are learning physics, chemistry, math. Likewise, in higher education, I think a couple of such common courses should be there. For example, take management. Management is completely removed as if it is a completely different thing. That is nonsense. Each one of us needs to understand some fundamental aspects of proper management. It is required in life. So, some such, what you may call a khichadi course. But it has to be given in the right spirit. So, that's the only observation that I can make. It's not easy. But as far as oneself is concerned, By all means, pursue your interests. I'll give you an extraordinary example. I have a friend, Achyut Godbole. He was the chief executive of many things. In fact, he has written a very nice book that you can read. He was well known as an IT professional. How many of you know that he was actually a chemical engineer? And how many of you know that his prime interest in life was food and music? He incidentally did IT. He pursued all those interests. But you have to spend time. Like I said, you have to reduce the time that you sleep. And you have to concentrate. You have to make your time productive. Believe me, what you can do in 10 minutes, you can actually do in 5 minutes if you train yourself to do it. But do not for a single instance think of stopping your other interests. Because that is what gives your life a beauty and enjoyment. That should be there.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
My name is Suraj Gupta. I am from Physics Department. I am doing my PhD over here. Sir, in the beginning of your talk, you spoke about prosperity of the nation, of the society. And you made a statement that only stupid people remain poor. So how do you define that stupidity and that poverty? In what sense?
Anybody who is poor is stupid. Very simple. And no human being is stupid, because every human being is so intelligent. God has endowed him or her with such intelligence that he or she can master a foreign language at the age of 6 years. I think the rest is attitude problem. If I say I will do better, there is nothing that can stop me from doing better. But that is where the national responsibility comes. The onus on the nation is to provide responsibility, provide opportunity. I'll tell you the aspirations, if you don't mind, another 2 minutes. This happened, it changed my own thinking. It happened in a small place called Wada, which is about 60 kilometers from here. Annually, Thana Marathi Vigyan Parishad arranges these get-togethers of school children. And one day, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, they asked me whether I will be able to speak in Marathi on Mahiti Tantrajna, information technology. There will be 9-10 standard students there. I went there, I prepared it. I normally don't give lectures in Marathi, but the lecture went well. There are about 300 students from 9, 10, 11 standards, all tribal area students by. But with sparkling eyes, good questions they asked. At the end, people gherowed me to take autographs. I felt like a film star, writing autographs. A lot of young girls and boys. One boy was standing there. I asked him, you want to? He says, no, mala tumhala kai prashna vichar. I want to ask you some questions. So I waited, I kept signing. Suddenly the organizers came. The local MP had come as a chief guest. And he says, MP sahab ko jana hai, aapko bhi jaldi jana sir. They are waiting for a cup of tea. So I stopped writing and I got up. And this boy held my hand. He said, sir, you said you will answer my question. Then I said, look, the organizers are calling. Then he said, sir, I have walked 10 kilometers to attend your talk. And I suddenly stopped. Why do you walk 10 kilometers? He says, no, I walk 6 kilometers to my school every day. And yesterday my Guruji told me that IIT professor is going to talk on Mahiti Tantrajna, so I walk. So I said, why do you walk? He says, don't you have tum-tum bus or something in the region? He says, ahe sir, but parvadat nahi. He says, I have, but my family cannot afford. And then he proudly says, sir, I stand first in my class. I asked that organizer to vanish with the MP and I said, I will answer this fellow. The following emerged. He says, how do I become an expert in information technology? So I told him what you are studying, science. Then I said, you have to appear for either an engineering exam or you have to do BCA or MCA. These are the opportunities. I explained to him exam, how should he prepare. And then I asked him, why do you want to become an expert in IT? I thought I'll get a stock answer, good fat salaries. Okay. You know what he said? तुमचे एक स्टुडंट आहे नंदन निलेकणी, त्यांनी इन्फोसिस कंपनी बनवली आहे, मला तशी कंपनी बनवायची आहे. See the aspiration. See the aspiration. One boy I met, one boy was bold enough to articulate his inspiration. How many such great performers would be there in the schools in Thane district? How many in Maharashtra? What is society doing for them? That is the question I ask myself. You do not realize, but I think the efforts such as IGNOU or the Yashwanthaw Open University, which Dr. Verukar read, is doing a far more important job than most university systems are doing. That they are able to reach to ordinary people and the better ones among them. Just count one good student in 9th standard in that school. At least 3 in his class itself, statistically. 3 in 9th B, 9th C, 3 in 10th, 3 in 11th. How many schools? How many schools in Maharashtra? Very easily, about 20,000 top-notch performers are waiting to be given opportunity. He cannot speak English. His teacher cannot speak English. Most of the technical knowledge, science knowledge is in English. Wikipedia is full of good English articles. Where is the knowledge in Marathi? Where is the knowledge in Hindi? Why isn't university system, the state, doing something saying, if nothing else, will translate this and make it accessible to that student from Vada? Because he is the one who aspires to build a company larger than Infosys. Imagine how much wealth he will generate. That is our responsibility, friends. Not easy. Sorry, I get very passionate on this point, but the opportunity giving is an important requirement for the nation.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Sanjay Deshmukh. I represent the University of Mumbai, Department of Life Sciences. You mentioned very truly that the Bombay IIT is one of the best in the country because of its attitude and the ethos. And that is also evident from the fact that the 8 lectures that we have had, 2 of them have come from IIT Bombay. And I must thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor for that. My question is that IITs are spreading knowledge, particularly in the area of science. Is there any effort in IITs where other faculty like arts and commerce can also be integrated suitably by way of the courses that you develop and design, number one. Number two, our university endeavors to involve many talented IIT professors in our education system to provide guidance to our students by way of involving them in our research and recognition committees of who decide whom to be chosen as PhD teachers or what topics can be chosen for the student. However, many of the IIT faculty are so busy that they're not in a position to attend these meetings, and we are deprived from their wisdom. Yes. So how we can bridge that gap of working together and sharing our knowledge? Thank you.
It's a good question, very important question. It's a difficult problem to solve. First and foremost, IIT system, unfortunately, has been built like the old MIT and Caltech, concentrating only on engineering science. It is not a proper university. Many of us feel that is not correct. So we have a humanities department. Science departments, fortunately, are coming of age. We have applied science department. But arts, commerce and such fields, we feel the lack, many of us feel the lack of it. We try to learn from others. A solution of this kind will emerge in mind. See, we are working very much on educational technology. And this AVU that we are using it to train now 10,000 teachers at a time across the country in engineering. The same mechanism can be used. It requires some concentrated work and so on. But you might want to talk to some of the ET people. For example, we have one Dr. Sahana Murthy and Professor Sridhar Iyer who are working on pedagogical issues in such ICT-based training. My own colleague for last 10 years, one Samir Sahasrabudhe, who actually built this entire distance education program from scratch with me, he is an expert on animation in education. Animation is something which on a book cannot be done. It can only be done with modern media. Where is it in any university that such things are being set up and are being propagated? Because in next 10 years, that is how education will be. So my suggestion would be that you may not always be able to get people, whether it is from IIT or whatever. I'll tell you, any good person in the country is busy 10 times just because he or she is good. The problem with life is you do some good work, you get more work. Of course, the answer is not to stop doing good work, but this problem will be there. The point is, it is, for example, sans humility, I also have no time. But there's an additional chief secretary who wanted me to be on the CCTV committee and something like that. I said, I have no time. The entire committee was gracious enough to come to IIT Bombay and hold the meeting. What prevents you from coming to IIT Bombay and holding the meeting? That way, see, the problem is, suppose I am a teacher, I'll say, to travel 2 hours just for a 1-hour meeting is not worth it. That's my problem. Now, this will happen in many places. So, 2 things. A, arrange for people to come together wherever. Arrange for people to come together on video conference. And B, arrange for these new features of teaching and education that are coming up. Animation, educational animations, distance education. And try to bring them and put them together. That is what.
Thank you very much. I think lack of time.
Yes.
So, Sir Phatak wanted to go back.
He is not.
He is persistent.
Yes, persistent.
So you would like
so
to.
we'll reward his persistence. We'll announce this is the last question.
That's the last question.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Purushottam Dubey. I am working in Somaya College. My question is that time never stops for anybody. So, dreaming is a word which might take a lot of time in his career or in that person's life. Whereas need is a thing which requires instantaneous attention.
Yes.
So, how can a person can reduce a space-time difference, a dream and a need?
This is not a different question than when I used to advise that nation building is a big thing. It takes 100 years. Society to change, transform, take 100 years. So let us all work so that our grandchildren will have a beautiful life. And while people would be impressed, each one would say, "Kya grandchildren to theek hai, but I also want good life for myself." So people do not normally think their expectations beyond their own lifetime boundary. I would like the best things to happen in my lifetime, as you rightly said. Should I stop dreaming therefore? Should I stop working for the long-term thing? I think there is no dichotomy in my attempting both. A, the short-term gains which I need for myself, my family, and B, contributions to the society for long-term gains, so that long-term dreams can be obtained. There is no dichotomy in that. It is either or is not the correct thing. I must find time in my own life such that I spend a proportionately substantial time in making myself better to realize my immediate needs, but I also do not rummage on putting time for the larger dream. It is difficult, but it is doable, and that is what must be done. Okay, I think we'll stop here.
Since Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Rajan Velukar is here, I'd like to invite him to come to stage and say a few words, whatever you wish to say, sir.
Sir, namaskar. Friends, I am not going to speak here. I am just standing to give vote of thanks. I must appreciate and thank Dr. Pathak, who has all the way taken time from his busy schedule and came here to University of Mumbai to deliver a lecture to my dear young student friends. So thank you very much, sir. I know how busy Dr. Pathak is. I have met him when I was Vice Chancellor of Yashwantrao Chauhan Maharashtra Open University. And I worked with his colleagues also, Samir Sahasrabuddhe and Professor Kavi Arya and others. So I am sure you may not get time to come here, sir, but I am sure we can use the technology which and some of the questions which my colleagues and my friends here they have asked is about the time. I read one article 20 years before, and that article says you can work for 25 hours in a day. And how you can work for 25 hours in a day, and a day is having 24 hours. So the book says, the article says that if you are taking 10 minutes to do some work, do it in 8 minutes, so that you save 2 minutes. And if you do that for 24 hours, I am sure you will be able to get 25 hours in a day. That is what Dr. Pathak has said, that sleep for little less time from tomorrow, whatever time you sleep. Now this younger generation sleeps maybe next day. So maybe 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and not on the same day, but they sleep on the next day. And I am sure my professor friend has asked a question that can IIT professors come here? No need that they should come here. We can go, I can give permission to you. You can go there and then have meetings whenever it is possible for them and possible for us. And absolutely there is no problem. Sir, I would like to tell you that we have organized this lecture series, and the first lecture, because several questions which has been asked is whether it is possible. The first lecture was of Dr. Mashelkar, and the topic was making impossible possible. That is the answer, and the title gives you the answer. And we have made a provision in university budget yesterday only. There are several schemes, but there is one scheme which we have introduced in university budget, and that is innovation clubs. That is for young people, not only for university, but for all the affiliated colleges. So with this, I must thank you, sir, for giving us your time, and I thank my colleague for organizing this today's program. And I'm sorry that I came little late because I had some other meeting today. So thank you very much, sir.
Let's stand for the national anthem, please, and we'll sing. Jana Gana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkal Banga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchala Jaladi Taranga Tava Shubha Name Jage Tava Shubha Ashish Mage Gahe Tava Jaya Gatha Jana Gana Mangala Dayaka Jaya He Bharata Bhagya Vidhata Jaya He Jaya